The answer really is no, because what they ought to ban, and they've shown that they don't care about, is they ought to ban the collection, monetization, and selling of our personal data.
I think so. I think how the algorithm works, especially when you see the US's content that comes out versus what they have in China, it's a little bit fishy.
I do think that we should be in support of some limitation on social media and their ability to conduct surveillance and spying activity. It's really no different from a foreign nation or a foreign army occupying our space.
And I will sing a verse. The Russians in Afghanistan, the Americans in Vietnam. Short memory must have a short memory. And they were kind of thought of as punk.
I think we ought to bomb Taliban.
I don't agree with her statement. I don't agree with her statement.
I'm sorry, did I just cut in front of you?
It's all right. Hey, how's it going, YouTube? This is Aaron with American Interviews. Today we're here at the Arcata Plaza for the Farmers Market, here to ask the question, should the U.S. ban TikTok? We're going to find out.
Should the U.S. ban TikTok? No, they should ban the collection and selling of
Let me hold this while you got in there.
our cars are collecting data from.
Let's hear that. So today we're asking the question, should the U.S. ban TikTok?
The answer really is no, because what they ought to ban, and they've shown that they don't care about, is they ought to ban the collection, monetization, and selling of our personal data. The fact that they're picking on TikTok is pretty silly. Our cars are collecting data from us. Our phones are basically our I don't want to say our Wi-Fi, but basically like our home internet, our URLs. It's all collecting and selling.
Smart home devices.
Smart home devices, yeah. So I would say if we're going to restrict anything, it's this unfettered collection and sale of our personal data. And, just picking on one platform because it's not based domestically and then offering up this solution to sell it to a domestic billionaire. I mean, look at what Elon Musk did with Twitter. You know what I mean? He took a public space that was used for sharing real-time information and kind of turned it into a, right-wing fascism curious cesspool. And so is that our government's plan for TikTok? Hand it to an American billionaire to harvest our data and sell it? So I would say no. I would say that our government regularly shows that they don't really have the best interests of the citizenry in mind. And this is just another in a long line of examples.
Would you say that this doesn't really address the underlying issue of our data? That's what the issue is, the issue at hand is, right?
Absolutely. This has nothing to do with the underlying issue of data harvesting, monetization, and sales. Absolutely.
Right.
And for some reason, they keep going after TikTok. A lot of people have their reasons why they think so. I mean, it's a different argument. I do think that certain, excessive use of social media is something that parents have to deal with and something that isn't good for all kids, but that also has nothing to do with this ban. So, yeah, I think it's an ill-fated attempt by a government that constantly gets it wrong.
Yeah.
I think the United States should not ban TikTok because it's really hard to apply that standard to any company that's international. You'd have to ban a bunch of other companies by that standard as well.
Right.
And I think it's kind of run a little too long. And it's a little, I understand the data privacy, so I understand the idea of the United States potentially forcing TikTok to sell to an American company. I think the United States can live without TikTok, but I think it's so integrated to our modern day culture that you kind of have to pick your battles at that point. Like, what are we going to do when other international companies want to work in the United States? Are we going to have to force them to sell as well? I understand the security concerns and the data concerns, I don't think it makes a big change though if they do ban it, because there's obviously other alternatives that are going to probably sprout up and pop up.
Something will take its place.
Yeah, of course. And other countries don't rely on the same American apps that we have here in America. They just have different alternatives to the same app. Like for American developers to make an app similar to TikTok would probably take just a couple of weeks, as you've seen people literally make the same exact app and call it a different name in a different country. So I don't think it would harm the United States as much as we think it would.
Do you think the people that are pushing for this ban are banking that companies like Meta will fill that void?
Yeah, but that's the funniest part, right? Where are we really gonna like trust Meta, who's like fumbled our data so many times, or just you're picking the lesser between two evils, and we don't really know which is more evil in that case. Obviously, in Meta's case, they've done a lot of shady stuff with our data. In China's case, we don't know what they're doing with their data. So I guess there's more safety in knowing what a company like Meta is potentially doing with their data. And because the privacy laws are supposed to be a lot more safer here in America now than before because of all those former past troubles, you would trust Meta in that case, but we're just not sure what they do. So I think obviously a company like Meta's already done like Instagram Reels and stuff. So I guess they would try to force companies like that, or Microsoft, they wanted to buy TikTok potentially. But obviously TikTok in that case is going to be worth billions of dollars. So even forcing a company to shed out billions of dollars in that case, I don't know if that's a strategy that would work. But I think, again, companies like Meta or Google would have to come up and try to develop their own app in that case.
Right, and it seems like almost inevitably so that all the politicians that are pushing for this ban are probably invested in companies like Meta and Google.
I think companies, well, if you're like looking at both sides of the aisle are invested in all these companies. So it's kind of funny, I'd say, that obviously Republicans, if we're going to get like to name drop a little, are leaning more toward the ban. I know Democrats are kind of more iffy, but they're doing a lot more briefings on these things.
It passed pretty unanimously in the House.
I was unaware of that. So yeah, obviously a lot in like Nancy Pelosi's case, she's probably bought a bunch of Meta stock or Google stock, Alphabet stock beforehand. So yeah, I think it goes without question that politicians are profiting on the potential TikTok ban here in the United States. Yeah, right. I do feel bad for small businesses who are operating on TikTok, or small businesses who rely on TikTok for their marketing, because in a sense it is a free tool that a lot of people use to go viral and go global. Right. So I guess that's maybe they didn't consider that part so much, but there are going to be other ways after that. But yeah, you're right. Without a doubt, no politicians are going to profit off Meta or another company kind of making the way in that case.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you be worried about the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, using TikTok as an arm for propaganda in the U.S.?
That's a great question.
Do you think that's already happening?
I think that it's happened with prior foreign governments and prior elections, and I think I'd be naive to say China wouldn't do something like that. Not to make China like a villain or anything, right, but just if they're obviously very capable of doing it, so I wouldn't put it past anyone. And,
right,
yeah.
They're our biggest adversary on the global political scale.
Like the funniest thing, where I think even China itself tries to make it not seem like it's as bad as it seems, but honestly we're not in the front lines, or even we don't understand what's going on in these political back rooms. So yeah, I think China's very capable of using the forcing propaganda through TikTok, because think about it, it's an algorithm. Right. So if they want to get a message across, it's very simple and very easy to push a message via that algorithm.
Probably like a light switch for them to just switch.
Maybe it's not even like a light, maybe the light switch is already on. Yeah. So maybe they're not even switching it off or on. And in their case, why would they have ever had it off to begin with, if they had one mission or one goal to begin with when it came to that?
Right.
Yeah, and obviously in China, they can say that it's a private company, but the CCP has its arms in every single company in China. And when guys like Jack Ma were kind of pushing back against that, then guys like that have to lay low for a bit, or they have to sell their company or something like that goes along. So even if China or the CEO of TikTok like to argue that China has no part in the company, that's we can't take that statement to be true, unfortunately.
Right.
Yep.
Do you think maybe that what was that question that I just had here?
You're asking great questions, by the way.
Thank you. I'm trying here. So do you think that maybe this bill here, the banning of TikTok, do you think that that's not really addressing the underlying issue of what is happening with our data?
I think it introduces an aspect of a foreign government having our data, and that's the funniest part. That it's just basically our government being like, hey, we want to have your data, and no one else can have your data. And I think that's just like, I don't think it addresses.
I think we ought to bomb Tel Aviv.
I don't agree with her statement. I don't agree with her statement. But nah, I don't even think the bill is a data concern. It's just another company having our data concern. Because like we're giving away our data every single day to all these huge corporations, but because those corporations are in bed with the politicians, our politicians seem to have no problem with it.
Do you think it's mostly monetary?
I think it's like 1,000,000% monetary, actually. I think obviously the idea of a foreign government having our data is an issue, and I think it's that. But I think it's the idea that this data is so valuable, so why the hell are we giving it to a foreign country for free? I don't exactly believe that. Like I don't come across some of that thought process, but I know these huge companies like Meta think like that. I know the politicians think like that too, because our data literally is the most valuable thing for advertisers and for companies, and they literally are printing billions of dollars a day off that data.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate your opinion.
This is good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Keep doing what you're doing. I love stuff like this.
Thanks. Have a good day. So today we're asking the question, should the U.S. ban TikTok?
I think so. I think how the algorithm works, especially when you see the US's content that comes out versus what they have in China, it's a little bit fishy. I don't know about a full-blown ban, but it should definitely be looked at and kind of figure out what's going on with that algorithm. Even YouTube's become a little fishy in terms of how much they've monitored things with how extreme you can be. But this TikTok thing, I mean, all of it is these young girls dancing and things like that. And you don't really find too much educational on the TikTok. And it's just made for you to flip, right? When you open it, it starts, all of that. And it comes from China. I don't know about all that whole thing, where it comes from, who regulates it on that end. But it's very brainwashy, you know, when it comes to it. So I think so. If not a full-blown ban, it should be looked at, yeah.
Right. So I don't think that if this bill goes through, I don't think it'll actually be gone in the U.S. I think that they're just trying to force the sale from people who have holdings in the company from China or Russia or Iran or North Korea. I think that that's the main sentiment of this bill here.
So then that would be like the influence here, right? All those outside people being able to influence here.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. Are you worried at all about the CCP using TikTok as an arm for propaganda in the U.S.?
Yes and no. I mean, if they ban it, no. But yes, at the same end, they could maybe flip it to a way where it becomes, yes, a big propaganda tool. But where I'm coming from is just from what I've seen, and most of TikTok is a lot of dancing and nonsense and look what I cooked and all this influencer stuff, and barely even political. And if it is political, it's just these little clips on two extremes where it's like you really have to be dialed into those for it to come on your For You page.
Right.
Yeah, I think for the average person, if they just turn on TikTok and start flipping, they're going to get more so of that dancing and that nonsense versus the political stuff. But yes, that's definitely something that I would be worried about. Yeah.
I don't think so, no. I haven't thought about it a lot, and I haven't used TikTok myself. I think it's a really good creative platform. And, you know, I've heard some issues with it coming from China, and people feel like it could be somehow infiltrated by the Chinese.
Used as sort of like a propaganda arm?
Right, yes, either propaganda or gathering information about people. Yeah, beyond that, I don't have a really strong opinion other than, you know, it seems relatively harmless to me. I think there are a lot of people who get all of their information from TikTok and from this kind of social media in general. So I think that can be dangerous when people are just, you know, especially young people are getting all of their information from TikTok or from, you know, Instagram, etc. So, but yeah, I think, you know, it should be freely available in general.
Do you think that if we went through with banning it, it would be kind of the tip of the slippery slope of censorship?
Yeah, I don't know if it's already the tip of it. I think there has been quite a bit of censorship already. Right. In general, I don't agree with censorship. I think people should be able to make up their own minds about what they listen to, what they do, what they see. It's different sometimes when people who are too young to make their own decisions and it's somehow being sort of integrated into their life and they didn't really make that choice. But yeah, you know, in general, I don't agree with censorship too much.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Do you think that maybe this could be a money grab from politicians who are invested quite heavily into companies like Meta and Google? They would inevitably fill the void of TikTok, I think.
Right. Yeah, it's possible. I hadn't thought about that. You know, I don't doubt it in some ways. Some people are money grubbing, and that's what they want. They'll do anything to get the money. But I also think that there are like the sort of cancel culture and politicians, especially on the right, who want to ban certain books and ban access to information for young people. They could also be behind this. I personally don't agree with that. You know, you can't change history. History is what it is. People should be allowed to read what they want and get information where they want. It's up to the family in general, the parents and the kids or whoever's getting in the information.
Yeah, so you think this decision should more fall on the household rather than the government?
Generally, yes. Yeah.
Right.
And I understand some households don't really provide a limit or a threshold to what their kids see and do. And that's unfortunate, but I don't think it's really the place of the government to decide.
Right, right. Do you think you would be worried about at all the CCP using TikTok as an arm for propaganda?
No. I mean, generally not. I think it could happen. You know, there could be hiring people to somehow be influencers, that kind of thing. And then nobody would know who they are or where they're from, and they might start listening to them, be influenced by them. It's not something that I personally am concerned about. You know, some people are, but I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, cool. I appreciate your opinion.
All right, Aaron, good to meet you.
Thanks for stopping to talk to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Thanks.
No.
And why would you say that?
I'm not sure anyone's proposing the U.S. banning TikTok. The legislation that is going on right now is to ban the foreign ownership of...
Right. They're trying to force the sale of TikTok to an American.
No, not to an American. It would divest countries that, 4 countries, North Korea, Russia, Iran, and China. It would force the sale of companies that do business in U.S. from being controlled by one of those 4 countries. So I support forcing divestment of American adversaries from operating in America. So if they're minority, they can keep minority stake in country, in companies that operate in the United States. They can we're not forcing the divestment of any British companies or Australian or Chilean companies. It's just those 4 countries would be forced to divest majority stakeholdership in any business that operates here in America. So I support that. I don't support a ban on TikTok because the legislation wouldn't ban TikTok. It would ban it would force ByteDance to sell their majority interest. And what's most telling to me is that ByteDance would rather close it down than sell it because they really want it to collect data on Americans, and forcing that divestment deprives them of the opportunity to collect that data, so they'd rather shut it down than sell it for billions of dollars and no longer be involved. So I support that legislation, but I don't support a ban on TikTok.
Okay.
I have a ban on TikTok in my own house. I don't let my kids use it. I think everybody should impose that ban for themselves.
Yeah, come down to the household. Right?
Yeah, that's our own personal decision. I don't let my kids use TikTok. They get 5 minutes of YouTube a day and 5 minutes of Pinterest and 5 minutes of I don't know, some other app. But they don't get access to TikTok and Snapchat, all that stuff. That's a family decision. So.
Right. Are you worried about the CCP using TikTok as an arm for propaganda at all in the U.S.?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's why forcing those 4 foreign adversaries to divest from majority ownership is a good idea.
Yeah. You don't think at all that this is a money grab for some investors in companies like Google or Facebook, Meta?
Well, two things can be true. There's is that the unintended side effect or is that the goal? I don't know. But either way, whether it's the goal or the unintended side effect, I think that forcing the divestiture of North Korea, China, Russia, and forget what the fourth one is. I said it a moment ago. I think that's a good idea. North Korea, China, Russia, and I forget what the last one, or Iran. That's the last one. Yeah, I think that's a good idea to force that divestiture.
Yeah, cool. Well, I appreciate your opinion, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you for talking to me. Have a good day.
The answer is absolutely no, because it's a slippery slope to banning any other platform. It gives the president the right to ban virtually any platform that he thinks or she thinks is appropriate, and it's just, we really super need to stand up for free speech and no censorship in this country, because we've already seen what's going on with Julian Assange and Edward Snowden, and we can't. And what was going on with Kennedy for like 18 years, they banned his Instagram account and his Facebook account, and the answer is no. We have to have free speech in this country. The First Amendment is the First Amendment for a reason, and it's super important.
Right. And you mentioned it would be a slippery slope. Do you think that could progress towards like banning, let's say, VPNs and things like that would protect your privacy from like internet service providers and stuff like that?
Absolutely, and it's also tied in with CBDCs, the central bank digital currency, where the government has control and sees what you do, and they can stop it, and they can grab hold of power, and if they don't like what you're doing, like social credits, like they have in China.
Right.
And no, it's really important in this country, it's important everywhere, but particularly in this country, to not ban that ban shouldn't have gone through, and we have to stop anything that resembles censorship. It's like if you don't like what you hear, you just turn it off or you walk away.
Or combat it with better speech.
Yeah. The answer is more speech, not less speech.
Right.
And so people say, well, I don't like this, I don't like that. It's like, fine, then just don't listen to it, or give your opinion and tell us why your opinion it makes more sense.
Right. The true proponent of free speech would want to protect speech that they personally didn't like, right?
Exactly. And we saw examples of that. I think it was in like the mid-'70s when the ACLU actually stood up for the Ku Klux Klan marching in a parade in the South, and we don't really see that stuff anymore. We don't see absolutists saying everything should be fair game, to be available, to be able to be heard. If you don't like it, you just don't listen. You say that person's a crackpot, and I don't want to listen to him, and I don't believe him. And we have to trust that the majority of citizens and the world will do the right thing.
Right. Do you think maybe are you worried about China or the CCP using TikTok as an arm for propaganda in the U.S.?
I'm worried about Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and the mainstream media using things for propaganda.
Right.
So am I more worried about that? No, I think that just feeds into the whole fear-mongering.
Okay.
It's like we can't be fearful of things. We have to be positive and show the world what we want to happen as opposed to not happen.
Right.
Should the U.S. ban TikTok? No, it's about free speech.
Right.
I mean, if they're going to ban TikTok, they should ban Twitter and Facebook and all the rest, too.
Right.
Same issue.
Yeah, I think the argument from the side that's looking to ban it is that it's data harvesting for the CCP and maybe could also act as an arm of for propaganda for the CCP.
True, but we're getting propaganda on all the social media sites, so, and the Chinese can do propaganda through Facebook as well if they wanted to, so I don't think that's an issue. I think the government, instead of banning one platform, should put in better regulations for all the platforms.
Right.
Much better way to go.
So you don't think it addresses the underlying issue?
No, not at all. And, I think they should be working on other things than banning TikTok, like how about universal health care for everybody, You don't think that maybe that this bill was introduced now as an easy win, a bipartisan win, you might say, for the Biden administration? No, I don't think that's an issue. I think there's someone who wants to buy TikTok, and that's why they're banning it, so that somebody rich can come in like Elon Musk did for Twitter.
So you think it's maybe a money grab?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you're not worried at all about the propaganda side of this issue?
Well, I'm always worried about propaganda.
Okay.
And we're getting a lot of it from Russia, from the Republicans. You know, propaganda's going nuts. So I'm worried about propaganda, but I'm not worried about propaganda on TikTok.
Right. Right. Do you think maybe that they're pushing this bill because a lot of the politicians are heavily invested in companies like Meta and Google, and that they know that will fill the void of TikTok?
Probably. Yeah, again, you know, something like this, it's all about the money.
Right. So today we're asking the question, should the U.S. ban TikTok?
Yes, because this has been expanding, like provoking the war. In provoking, and it's like any other kind of social media, like people don't have any way to filter the information. They presented it, and because the algorithm, they think that this is kind of what they hear in social media, this is the truth.
Yeah. Do you think maybe that if TikTok was banned, that these types of information that you're talking about, they wouldn't just move to platforms like Instagram or Facebook, maybe YouTube?
They're already there, but I think that in TikTok there is a little bit more motivation to provoke it. So I think that it should not be part of our society. Like, you know, nothing happened before we did not have it. It's not like something that really lead us to any liberation, to anything. It's like, you know, it's just right now provoke more opportunity to hate more. Whatever group it is, it just provoke more.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't really allow to people ability to do any critical thinking. It's just like whatever they hear, they creating more. So I have nothing to do with it. Before, the issues that it came, the issues that right now, it's the war in the Middle East, I had an opinion about this before. It's a waste of time for a teenager, because they are bored with their values that the parents provide for them. So I have a problem about what are kids doing in this life? How do they get information? Do people read book? What do they do? People in their free time? Do they spend all the time in front of the screen? So this is my problem about it. They don't really get any information. Right. They think that it's provide to them information, and this is not the people are far away from really being curious. There is no curiosity anymore.
Right. Do you think that are you worried at all about the CCP using TikTok as an arm for propaganda in the United States?
Definitely. I cannot embellish it, but I think that everybody that use something against something, I have a problem with it. It's not really I can't elaborate about this, yes, but I do. I think that it's a tool, like any other kind of tool that right now that we use, and it's it's a fire because it's so fast. It's moved from place to place. It's really move really fast, and I think that it's people cannot really have we don't really know. Even in school, we don't really teach critical thinking skills. So this is kind of if teacher use TikTok as a classroom, in classroom, what is this about? I've seen it. The teacher use YouTube, TikTok, social media, or something like this. This is a way that that we convey information today. Yeah. There is nothing that kids learn how to think. This is what this is a scary thing for me. That people telling me where history started. Oh, I learned it in TikTok. I saw it. People arguing with me. People tell me about my country. I'm from Israel. Telling me, I saw it in TikTok. What is in Israel? I saw, what do they do there? I saw it. And I said to him, you really? I've been there. I know there. I know people from there. Right. They learn all the information from social media, and they claim that they know what is over there. Yeah. So this is my problem.
Do you think that maybe on the other side of the argument, do you think that the banning of TikTok could be the tip of a slippery slope to just start banning other applications and things that we use, maybe like VPNs? Do you think that this could be the start of banning other things?
Yeah, this is a good question. I think that somebody needs to monitor it and to balance it. You know, like obviously, like just to. I think that all of this question, it's part of the discussion. I think the discussion need to occur, but it needs to be not biased, because even with a question, there is a little bit bias. Right. Okay, so if removing it's going to do this kind of thing, we should ask ourselves as a society, what happens if we don't have this kind of thing? Because it's not always we had the TikTok, it's not always we had the Facebook. So we have to think about what happened before, what is this kind of thing add for our life, what is this kind of thing hurt us. So it's not like need to think about if this is what happened, if it's removed, my question is, it's like kind of like not to answer when you ask a question. It's like really going to ask yourself, to reflect about our life before it. Yeah. It's more like kind of to reflect about why did we create this kind of platform? What we needed in that it created to begin with. Okay, so this is not like the question, it's not like boom, it's not a band-aid that remove, but I think that right now there's so much riff, we need kind of to ask ourselves like really questions.
Do you think that this bill isn't really addressing the underlying issue of what people are worried about, which is data harvesting and our data going to China?
Probably, but again, I don't really know, like I'm not really like sophisticated enough to say it. I really see like how is it really any kind of like platform, and I consume social media for a different reason. Like for me, it's sharing about my family, connecting to family overseas, kind of more for connection, rather like because I don't think that people anymore have a today people don't really know to do civil discourse, they don't really want it to converse. So I'm concerned about everything that it's happening, like kind of like with the data, but it's not that I feel that I'm like living a paranoia life, like for China. So I'm not really living paranoia, but I'm aware that can create all of this kind of thing, but it's not my immediate like fear. I'm not really believing conspiracy, that what can happen, and no, I'm not.
Right. Well, I appreciate your opinion. Thank you for
very
stopping to talk to me.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, no problem. We're asking, should the U.S. ban TikTok?
I've been informed, and I can't verify this, but the Chinese TikTok is very different from American TikTok in terms of content. So if they really have a quality programming schedule over there that is helpful to young people and helpful to the culture, whereas they have something here that is highly toxic, that's a bit of a concern. But I think the biggest concern about TikTok is if they really fish for data, and if it is controlled by a foreign power, then they could start doing weird things like even offering our service people compensation for information or secrets. Whether knowingly or unwittingly, they could create an information grid and an algorithm to do nefarious things in terms of our defense. So I think that's the major concern that I had going back a few years that was expressed back then, which was that there was a problem with where data was controlled or stored. But of course, the real truth about that is it doesn't really matter where data is stored. It's who can access it and who can do things with programming on there. Right. So I do think that we should be in support of some limitation on social media and their ability to conduct surveillance and spying activity. It's really no different from a foreign nation or a foreign army occupying our space. That being said, we have the First Amendment, so we must balance what's being done. The First Amendment is, of course, traditionally people's rights and then, I guess, expanded to corporations. Do foreign countries have First Amendment rights in this country? It's an interesting question. I don't know if it's been litigated. But politically, I think that there should be something done to curtail the power of TikTok to subvert our country, our youth, and our military.
Are you worried at all about the CCP using TikTok as an arm for propaganda in the United States?
I am. Propaganda is a very powerful weapon in the battlefield that exists now, which is kind of a mental battlescape. And so we must guard against the ability of a foreign power or really any agent to subvert our people. So the traditional way was the marketplace of ideas. If there's really a even playing field of ideas, then through humor and competition of ideas, we could belittle and counteract ideas that are subversive, and people can make their own decisions on such a playing field, and I think they would go for the right side. But if the playing field's not even, and being manipulated, then who knows what's going to pass for truth and logic and information. And we know from things like the psychological experiments that were done, the Ash experiment, the Milford experiment, and other things that show how people go along with perceived opinions and authorities, that it can be very dangerous to let the wrong people pull the levers of authority in social media, including the CCP.
Right. And to touch on the point you brought up first, I believe that in China, their TikTok shuts off at 10 p.m. You're not allowed on it past 10 p.m. And I believe they only promote like STEM stuff, so science, technology, engineering, math.
That's exactly right. I've heard the same thing. So over there, the same thing is a tool for education and for helping people. Here, it's a tool for subversion. So we've got to watch that. What is his name? Bezmenov, Yuri, who talks about the subversion of our people. It's like appears to be happening. And so we just have to be careful. This is just part of our United States. It just happens to be in cyberspace. But we have every right to defend our space, and I think we have a right to defend our cyberspace.
Right. I've heard an argument made that in favor of banning TikTok. They were saying, comparing it to the Cold War and saying, would we let Russia put up radio towers in New York City and broadcast propaganda willy-nilly?
That's right. Of course, we did that. We had Radio Free Europe where we broadcasted to them. Yeah. But no, what would we do? I mean, I guess we would jam it or we would handle it.
Yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate your opinion.
My honor. Yeah, my dog is fidgeting.
That's
he
all
doesn't
right.
like this topic at all.
Oh. Cute puppy.
Good work.
Yeah,
Good
thank you.
talking to you.
I appreciate it. So today we're asking the question, should the U.S. ban TikTok?
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so? You want to expand on your reasoning?
Yeah, because, we have a generation who don't want to work, and TikTok is a place whereby, you can sit at home and make money, create content, and not just content, there are a lot of businesses on TikTok, companies on TikTok, influencers are making money on TikTok, So I don't think, TikTok have made millions. Even me, I make money on TikTok. So I'm a musical artist, independent artist. I get my music out there, through TikTok, it's one of the platforms. So I don't think the US should ban TikTok, I think they should, try to do something to, keep the company going, They don't ban TikTok because people love TikTok,
Right. I think the bill mainly is they're trying to force the sale of TikTok into in Americans' hands, I believe.
Yeah, America, anything that is happening that is going global, that America is not involved. That America won't love that, They want to be part of everything that is, big, So I believe, TikTok, if you just give it to that terms, it's one of the ways of them, getting control. But I believe that somebody will buy TikTok like the way they say it, They say somebody, except an American person buys TikTok, they will ban TikTok. So let's say within 6 months, who buys TikTok, you know? Yeah, you know.
Are you at all worried about the idea of the CCP using TikTok as an arm for propaganda in the United States?
I'm not. I don't even know about that. For real, I don't even know about that. But like, you know, they just make up stuff to like try to ban stuff, you know. So I don't know if that's possible, but I don't know about that. For real though, I don't know, you know. Yeah.
Are you worried about the CCP gathering data from Americans on TikTok?
First of all, what's the CCP?
The Chinese Communist Party.
Okay, bro, you know, I ask me anything about entertainment, I will tell you. But if you ask me something about, you know, the Chinese war and stuff like that, I can't say nothing.
That's fair.
You know.
Do you think that maybe proponents of this bill to ban TikTok are like the politicians? Do you think maybe that it's a money grab for them because they would potentially be heavily invested in companies like Meta and Google?
I think it's a way of them to control TikTok because TikTok is taking over everything, you know. Like, it's a way of them, like, it's just like parents who have kids that are 13 years old, 14 years old, and want to, like, you know everything that's happening in their life. You get me? So I think it's a way of them. It's not about the money, you know. It's about them having control over, you know, TikTok and being like, yeah, we have control over this TikTok too, you know. Like they have control over Facebook, like they have control over Instagram, X, you know. They just want to have control. It's all about power for America, you know. It's not about the money.
So you think it's more about control of information?
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Just control about power, you know. So I don't think that, you know, it's about that. I think it's about power for America. It's not about the money, you know.
That makes sense.
Yep.
Well, I appreciate your opinion.
All right, man.
Thanks for stopping and talking to me.
Yeah.
Have a good day.
Oh, bro, I see this guy. He got pressed by what's his name? He was like, this is not public space.
Oh,
yeah, it's my favorite video, bro.
That's a funny video.
Yeah. I love what you do.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Have a good day.
Today we're asking the question, should the U.S. ban TikTok?
I never looked at it, but when the topic of banning it came up, I downloaded it in Instagram for the first time. I'm 62 years old, and if you want to make something popular, try banning it, like a book or anything else. My grandfather would not be famous if his book was not banned. He sailed here from Melbourne, Australia, enlisted in the Merchant Marines in Australia at the age of 13. Back then it was easier to fake your age. And he came here, and when he was banned from sailing in the Merchant Marines because he was colorblind, he took to writing books. And he wrote a book called Love Me Sailor. And there was, Melbourne's in the state of Victoria, and his book got banned. And it was such an outrage that it's in the state of Victoria, so they called it the Victorian censorship era. And they started a strike. And this is all recorded history. But the strike was a writer's strike. And not only did people stop writing novels, they stopped reporting on sports, cricket and rugby. Australia's a little different, you know, not football and baseball. They actually call it football over there. Aussie rules football is rugby. Go Humboldt, we got the national championship. And bring back sports, bring back KHSU, fight the power. And the real issue is that we're all in debt because of the consumer society. China already owns this country. If you look at the trade imbalance and everything else, China was carved up by European powers, and America reluctantly eventually came to the rescue over Japan. Global politics is interesting, but our friends become our enemies. When the Russians got attacked by the Nazis, who was originally their ally, they became our ally. And those who do not study history are condemned to repeat it over and over and over again. A band from Midnight Oil, a band called Midnight Oil, is headed by a lawyer named Peter Garrett, Peace and Freedom Party in Australia. And he wrote a song in the 80s that was called Short Memory. And I will sing a verse.
Go ahead.
The Russians in Afghanistan, the Americans in Vietnam. Short memory must have a short memory. And they were kind of thought of as punk. They started a riot when they had a People's Street concert that I went to, put on by Mayor Bradley in LA. And people didn't understand that slam dancing was a form of free speech. And the cops beat the crap out of everybody and shut it down for second day in a row during Midnight Oil set, not during that song. But Peter was trying to get the cops to stop beating the crap out of everybody. They came in on horses, started beating everybody up, declared it an unlawful, illegal gathering because people were peacefully slam dancing. When you slam dance, you fall on the ground, somebody picks you up, it's all friendly, you know. You don't grab people's genitals, right. You know. It's not like our current politics. But
do you have any concern at all for the CCP using TikTok as an arm for propaganda in the U.S.?
Very little. It's already been done with Facebook, Cambridge Analytica. The Brits exited Europe. Youth were not for that. It's not in their best interest. And artificial AI is coming in right now. It's already here, but now it's available to everybody. So you can't grade someone on something and have them take it home because they'll just go to AI and ask the question. Writing are being replaced, creativity is being replaced. In a world, and I said this a few minutes ago, with infinite possibilities in space, time, and other dimensions, that's a mathematical equation which overcomes all statistics. Anything that you can think of has already happened, will already happen, and will happen again. And that's just a statistical reality, including the
of infinite probabilities, right?
Probabilities. And TikTok uses algorithms in math. And look what happened to China. It's an empire rising, may or may not dominate the world. Maybe it's their turn. We should push them towards democracy, but we have to do that with money. We're not going to kick their ass. We're not going to force China to do what we want.
Right.
We need to compete economically and show that democracy and freedom is what rules the day. And people that think this is a democracy, okay, we still have laws and the Electoral College that give states 2 senators and allowed people to vote based on their state's population and assigned people 2/3 of a vote for every slave they owned. We can change. The Electoral College should have went the day that the popular vote did not equate with the new president. And that was 20 years ago when you were 12 years old. And I thought common sense and democracy ruled this country. And I thought all it took was a clear enough example of that to make it work. I'm a proud American. I was born abroad with citizenship granted to me in 2 different nations that I was not born in, Australian and U.S. My birth was registered in the consulate of the United States government and the Australian government. And I can't even find my birth certificate, which I had to have replaced because of being kicked out by landlords so many times. And having my stuff stolen. A person has a right to be secure in their person, place, and things. I met a veteran who went to jail and prison for breaking 3 ribs on a cop. And you know what I told him? Most of the criminals I respect are charged with very serious crimes. And there's usually a reason for that. And I said, maybe the cop deserved it. And he said he broke into my home. And this is a man 10, 12, 15 years older than me. And I'm 62. We need to follow the Constitution. The founders couldn't have imagined what's going on today, but the people interpreting it are doing it in their own financial and power grab interest. Let democracy rule. Keep the promise. Don't betray the people. Stop with the deception. Take back this nation now. And be a shining light for the rest of the world. Most people, if you travel, you really want to say you're Canadian because the policies of this country make us hated worldwide. And I took to saying I was Canadian or I'm from north of there when I traveled the world because it was either easier than explaining U.S. foreign policy and politics.
Right. Well, I appreciate your opinion, Dan, right?
Yes.
Nice to meet you.
Aaron?
Yep.
With an A?
2 A's.
2 A's. I'll remember that.
Cool.
Double A Aaron. I just came from AA.
Have a good day. So today we're asking the question, should the U.S. ban TikTok?
Well, and that's a good question. Should we? Who are we? Are we government? Are we a dictator? Are we a so-called democratic society allowing everything blossom the way they want to be? Everybody has their own truth. Therefore, allowing people to be their own truth. If we are all as a citizen of the universe, we're here to accepting everyone, embracing all of them. Therefore, we don't have to fight. We don't have to kill each other. You're not my friend. Therefore, I'm not allowing you to be my country. You're a bad guy, but you're my friend. I'm gonna support you. Kill millions of people. Therefore, from my personal perspective, let the people be who they are. Be acceptable to all ideologies, beliefs, religious, or whatever that will be. So it's my personal perspective. It's just be acceptance to all ideologies, cosmologies, belief system. That's my insights. Just be a human being.
So you wouldn't be in support of banning TikTok?
I wouldn't know who I'm supporting to. Supporting the government, the ban? No, I'm not supporting anyone. I'm just say, give people voice. Maybe different perspective in life. Right. Yeah, so allowing people to share their perspective. Maybe they're not so-called grow up in this part of I call this paradigm. Think of our society is better than any other society. Therefore, anybody doesn't belong to ours, doesn't believe us, we need to ban them. Come on. We are all just human beings. Everybody has so many different beliefs. Look around the world. We think we are the best constitution in the world. Think about it. You think about it, right, my friend? And so let's embracing all relations, embracing all the different way to live in this world. TikTok or someone else, or people live in the Middle East, people live in the far in the jungles. They're not uncivilized, they're just different way of life. Let's all respect each other as human brothers, sisters. Right. Does it make sense? From my personal perspective, right? Everybody has their own truth. I respect everybody's truth. But fundamental truth is the unity. It's a human brothers, sisters. Can we support each other without judging each other? In a simple way of living life.